Welcome to Storytime Pals. Subscribe to keep the stories coming. Hi, boys and girls. It's your pal Amber, and today we're going to practice our ABCs. Let's read Abigail Spells. Are you ready? Okay. Abigail and George did everything together. Abigail danced the cha-cha while George played the maracas. Cha-cha-cha, C-H-A, C-H-A, C-H-A. Abigail struck a pose while George painted her portrait. Abigail always had interesting stories to tell, and George loved to listen to them. Once upon a T-I-M-E. That spells time. But there was one thing Abigail liked to do better than anything else. More than anything, Abigail loved to spell. B-A-L-L-O-O-N-S. Balloons. She spelled in the morning while she brushed her teeth. B-R-U-S-H. B-R-U-S-H. Brush, brush. She spelled during lunch when she opened her lunchbox. C-A-R-R-O-T. Carrot. C-E-R-E-A-L. Cereal. C-O-O-K-I-E. That spells cookie. And she spelled at night before going to sleep. Sleep tight, Abigail. Good N-I-G-H-T, George. Good night, George. Then, one day, Abigail saw something that made her jump up and down. In the hallway at school was a sign that read, Spelling Bee, next Friday. Winners will spell at the city fair. She could barely contain her excitement. I'll help you practice, said George. How do you spell apple? A-P-P-L-E, cried Abigail. How about book? Asked George. B-O-O-K. What about clock? C-L-O-C-K. Abigail could spell just about everything. Finally, the day of the spelling bee arrived. First came math. Abigail raised her hand to answer the question on the board. T-E-N, she said proudly. T-E-N, that spells 10. Then came music. Mr. Potter brought out a box with some letters on it. George looked at Abigail. She raised her hand and smiled. B-E-L-L-S, said Abigail. Bells. Next, Mr. Potter asked everyone to return to their desks. Abigail looked around the room. She opened and closed her notebook. Then she opened it again. Abigail was ready. A bell rang, and it was time for the spelling bee. Wish me L-U-C-K, she shouted. Wish me luck. Spelling bee. Abigail raced to the auditorium. Her heart pounded as she made her way across the stage. She couldn't wait to begin. George found a seat in the second row. The lights went down and he held his breath. He was nervous for her. Mr. Potter went row by row. He asked each of his students how to spell a word, then listened for the answer. Sophia sat 2 seats away from Abigail. She spelled S-H-I-P. and sat down again. Mr. Potter nodded. Ship must have been right. Then Benjamin spelled the word banana, but he added an extra N, and he was out. It's easy to add an extra N. Banana sure has a lot of N's. Finally, it was Abigail's turn. She stood up. She looked for George in the audience, but it was too dark to see. Suddenly, she felt hot. "How do you spell elephant?" asked Mr. Potter. E-L-E, she began, but her mind went blank. F? Her tummy felt funny. A-N-T, she said quickly. Oh no, there's no F in elephant. Abigail sat down. She had made a mistake. I'm sorry, said Mr. Potter. She would not spell in the city fair spelling bee. Aw. Elephant is spelled with a P-H. Makes the same sound as an F, right? Yeah. On the way home, Abigail did not spell anything. Even when George asked her if there was a Q in the word peanut. There's not, huh? The next day, George brought over his maracas, but Abigail didn't feel like dancing. He pulled out his paintbrushes, but Abigail didn't want to be in a picture. He asked her to tell him a story, but Abigail wouldn't utter a peep. She just didn't know what to say. Aw. George thought for a moment. I have a story to tell you, he said finally. Once upon a time, there were a bear and a bird who did everything together. Abigail looked up. She had never heard George tell a story before. Normally, she tells the stories, and he listens. Then one day, the bird stopped doing all the things she liked to do, and the bear was worried. He missed his friend. He thought she was a great dancer, made the perfect portrait, and was the best speller he'd ever met. Abigail smiled. That is a great story, she said. But you forgot one important part. The bird was very glad that the bear was her F-R-I-E-N-D. Her friend. George knew exactly what she meant when she said S-A-N-D-T-W-I-G F-O-R-T-R-O-C-K D-I-G-T-R-U-C-K. Aw, thank goodness. Abigail's back to spelling, and George is back to being happy listening. The end. Thanks for spelling with me. Bye.
Thanks for watching Storytime Pals. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.